Hello everyone, I'm MediaFC and this is Blue Lions TV, and today I'm bringing a match review for our disappointing 1-0 loss to Manchester City. But before I get into the match review, I have to explain why I haven't been able to upload frequently, and that's because a lot of you guys know I have been in Malaysia on holiday for the past 2 weeks, and unfortunately the battery in the laptop I was using broke down and I was unable to upload. It was very frustrating. There were so many things I wanted to talk about, like the game against Nottingham Forest, Masunda, our fantastic performance against Atletico Madrid, plus the match reviews and much more. And yeah, it's quite annoying, but anyway you guys, I'm back now and I'm going to be grinding out the videos. I'm going to be trying to do double uploads every 1 or 2 days, so you guys just stick with me. But anyway, getting straight into the match review, and you guys, this is one of the most disappointing, abject performances I've seen in recent memory from Chelsea, and everything was wrong. And a lot of you guys, I do tell you that a lot of times it's not always players playing poorly. A lot of times it's the match tactics aren't really helping them. But today it was the first time in a while that it was the tactics as well as the players combining to give a really terrible performance, and it was such a huge contrast to our fantastic performance against Atletico Madrid. And yeah, you guys, this was just awful. But yeah, I really have to give blame to Conte today. I really feel that his match preparation and tactics were really terrible, and I think it really summed up by playing Azpilicueta on the right. You guys, I didn't understand the tactical importance on Aspi playing there. What, to counter Leroy Sané? Yeah, Sané's been on a good run of form, but I don't really think he's that type of player to merit that defensive attention that he really needs, the likes of an Aspi as well as a Rudiger to double team on him. I thought that was quite, it was quite negative, I felt, and it was, I just wasn't comfortable with that. Not having Moses been able to break the lines and beat a man and get forward and push forward, because what was Aspi really there to provide to the attack? Nothing. He didn't get forward at all well, and he couldn't. And again, I know we used a 3-5-2, but again, we're playing against a Manchester City team that weren't playing with any traditional fullbacks in the team. They had the spaces there on the flanks that should have been taken advantage of, and I didn't understand why. And I really feel that this game today, what was the plan to really get at Manchester City to win the game? Because in my opinion, if you're not creating chances, consistent chances on goal, then you have no real plan to really try and get into the game and get something positive from it. Of course, the Aspi thing I didn't really agree with, but I felt, again, the wing-back system, if the front players can't keep hold of the ball, then the wing-backs can't get forward. If the wing-backs can't get forward, the midfielders can't get hold of the ball. It doesn't matter if you have 3 or 4 guys in midfield. They provide the width. You need that width, because having width that wide, it gives you the options. Players that make runs through the middle of that width, and then the midfield have options to pass to. That's how it works. They couldn't do anything today. And I really feel that it was a bit overkill really to even use a 3-5-2 system. In my opinion, I thought we were going to use a 3-4-3 and really test Manchester City on the flanks. This is a weakened Manchester City. No Aguero, no Benjamin Mendy, and we just gave them the game. And what really frustrated me the most was that Manchester City were there for the taking today. They didn't even, they outplayed us in this game today, but they didn't play us with superb, amazing football. It wasn't that type of performance. It was just that we gave them the ascendancy, we gave them the advantage, and we didn't make use of any of their weaknesses at the back. And I was just completely baffled as to why that was the case. Of course, Morata had that early chance in the first 3 minutes where, he should have scored. Morata will be that type of striker in the next year or two, but he will be that guy who finished his chances like that easily. But starred with service the whole time. Same thing as Eden Hazard as well. And basically Manchester City, I felt, credit to Pep Guardiola today. Amazing tactics. I've never seen a system so fluid before, and it really shows you why this guy is like at the pinnacle of football, and how he's got such a futuristic view of how football should be and how match tactics should work as well. Of course, the front two couldn't get any services at all because Manchester City centre-backs would constrict and become tighter to outman and outmark our 2 players. And of course, when the likes of Morata and Hazard are getting the ball, there's no support options around them. Manchester City were able to play with a very high press. They played with a very high line, and they pressed us very high because they had 4 guys in midfield as well as the 3 guys up front, and they'd really make sure they pressed us out wide on the flanks. We were getting outmanned every time wing backs were trying to get forward and get on the ball, and we were constantly losing possession there. I mean, we tried to pass back into midfield. We were getting outmanned in all types of positions. And really, I felt that Conte should have been making decisions to really get us back into the game, which he didn't do. And it has become a pattern of Conte to not make the first tactical substitution to change the course of the game. Now, of course, it didn't help at all that Morata had that muscle injury. They're saying afterwards that it's not looking too serious, thank God for that. So maybe he'll be back in a week or two. That's okay. But again, bringing on Willian, I have to say I did understand why, because Conte is probably thinking, you know, I want Willian to maybe attack the spaces out wide, get in behind to really stretch Man City and become an outlet. But then at the same time, doesn't have that pace, so doesn't have really that strength to hold off the ball. And of course, he's getting outmarked whenever he's getting the ball. He's got 3 players on him. And our attackers today in Hazard and Willian were very isolated. Whenever they've gotten the ball, they're getting hacked down, getting fouled, getting outmarked. And then whenever they tried to make runs in behind, Manchester City were playing a very intelligent, back 3, where they were playing the offside trap fantastically well. And Hazard and Willian were constantly getting pushed offside. And I was really thinking, you know, second half, we saw how the performance was in the first half. You could see the pattern of play and how it was going to develop and really be the same thing for the second half. I was thinking, please, Conte, second half, bring on Pedro. Why do we need Pedro? Pedro is probably one of the best players in the league when it comes to breaking the lines, making those runs in behind, never goes offside. He would have been a fantastic outlet. And when you have 3 guys up front, what are you doing? You're stopping Manchester City playing the offside trap, because it's 3 players too many to really take that risk and chance, and you're forcing them deeper. And then when you have those 3 guys up front, let's say you have Hazard pushing out wide a bit, Willian pushing out wide again, you're giving an outlet for Aspie and Alonso to actually get forward. And when those guys are getting forward, Manchester City don't have anyone on the flanks to help defend. Yeah, Walker's going to push up, but who's going to track back and help him? You know what I mean? Who's going to be that defensive support for Walker to help combat the likes of Alonso and Hazard pushing out wide on the left? And I felt it was so obvious because the flanks were just barren. Manchester City had no one there. It was there for the taking. And Conte didn't make any substitution or tactical change to really, you know, give us the ascendancy and really have a go at Manchester City. And that's the most disappointing thing. And, you know, this is actually one of Conte's criticisms throughout his career, especially in Serie A. You know, I've always hoped that he could maybe get past this, but it's this, you know, it's this fear that it's not the fear he installs in his team. No, I said that wrong, but, you know, it's this lack of aggression. It's, you know, not brave. I think that's a perfect way to summarize it. He doesn't approach the game, you know, being brave. It's too often, it's always reacting to opponents and never putting, you know, opponents under pressure with our ability. When you have the likes of Hazard, Pedro, you know, Conte, fantastic players like that, but good enough to be doing that against a weakened Manchester City team. I understand why maybe Conte was thinking, you know, let me, you know, put Aspie out wide. Let me try and stop the threat by City on the flanks, because City are probably the best team in the league when it comes to exploiting flanks, where they play their drill crosses into the box. Now, of course, it was much harder for them to do that because we had 3 at the back with Christensen sweeping everything up from behind, who I felt was very good today. But, you know, he's a good player, so it's not really surprising. But I felt he put too much credence on stopping the threat of Sterling and Sane, who I thought were very poor yesterday. And you know how you could tell they were poor? Because after a while, Pep Guardiola switched them from either flank, where Sane was playing on the right so he could cut inside, and Sterling doing the other thing. But they weren't getting past their man. They were getting outmarked. I didn't really have anyone to really link up with. Of course, you know, we couldn't stop Silva and De Bruyne. They were playing in those gaps behind the midfield and our defence. And, you know, they were, I felt, you know, very good in the game yesterday, especially De Bruyne. Very intelligent use of the ball, etc. But this is why I strongly feel that you have to put pressure on these teams, because when you do that, you're forcing either De Bruyne or Silva to drop deeper when they're not that good defensively. And that's how you can then build attacks and create chances, which we could have done. And we didn't do that. And it was just so disheartening. It was just so weak, and it was just so un-Chelsea-like to see a type of performance like that. And you know, I think it really summed up Conte later on. When he does finally bring on Pedro and bring on Mitch, he takes off Eden Hazard. I'm thinking, I don't care that we play Atletico Madrid. I'm sorry. A lot of these players already played Champions League. It's Spain. It's not far from London. You know, they're professional players. You know, they played in Europe, they played for their international teams and everything. You're not getting that tired where, you know, you have to get taken off for 20 minutes. So this is the best player in the league. If we had Hazard there, because immediately when we did move to a front three, Manchester City were dropping a bit deeper and playing a bit more counter-attacking. Now, if we had Hazard there pushing out wide, where you know he loves to drift off to the left, cut inside, that's the possibilities there for chance creation, shots on goal, and possibly creating something and doing something. And, you know, Conte, you can see Hazard's reaction when he got subbed off. He couldn't believe it. He wasn't happy about that. And I didn't understand what Conte was thinking in making that move. Yeah, I know Hazard was poor today, but I'm sorry, it wasn't his fault. Of course, he was offside with his runs a lot, but whenever the guy's getting service, it's so deep. He wasn't able to get into the positions where he wants to collect the ball and affect the game because he couldn't. There was no support around him as well. And whenever the few times he did get them in those positions, Manchester City players were kicking him from behind, hacking him down, doing everything they could to stop him from doing anything. And I'm just thinking, Conte did nothing really to help Hazard really get in those positions to help us get into the game. He didn't make any decision to really help with that. And really, he played into Manchester City's hands the whole time. And I'm sorry, Manchester City outplayed us yesterday, but it wasn't some amazing, blistering performance that you're going to remember for ages. There was nothing like that. We basically just gave them the advantage with our abject performance. And they were, you know, it was frustrating because they were definitely there for the taking. And, you know, Conte, I don't understand his approach of, you know, this constant like negativity, it seems sometimes, because I'm sorry, you know, I'm not going to say results, I'm saying performances. We've seen similar types of performances where we do defend unnecessarily. I think the recent game against Spurs, where I know I got a lot of backlash, even though we got the result against them, really didn't create that much. And I felt it was unnecessarily defensive than it had to be to really stop Spurs' threat. You know, a midfield of Conte, Baka and Fabregas, you know, they're good enough to be keeping hold of the ball. But again, if you can't get the wing backs forward, it's not going to help. And this is the problem sometimes with the 3-5-2, because if teams play with a back three, you can put pressure on the front, so you can stop them from getting service. So the front two can't keep hold of the ball, the wing backs can't get forward, mids can't get on the ball, etc. I keep saying this is how it works. And I'm thinking, Conte, I don't really see the plan sometimes to really, you know, how to stop opposition being able to play against us like this so often. What's the plan when he's noticing what the opposition team's doing that's stopping us from, you know, developing our play and advancing in our play? He doesn't seem to have a plan B on what we can do to break this down and still create our chances, as well as keeping our solidity in the team. And yeah, I don't know, honestly, after that performance against Atletico Madrid, to, you know, come with the same approach for this game, I just couldn't believe it, really. The minute I saw the team line up, I knew it was going to be this type of defensive performance to hopefully get something on the break. But it showed today that, you know, teams will be trying to copy this format, where if you do play 3-5-2, teams will be using three at the back and really man marking our front two players. And it seems to have great effect when that does happen. I think 3-4-3 was the way. I'm disappointed with Conte's approach today, I'm not going to lie. I think he was the main reason we lost the game. And, you know, this whole thing of, we all knew he was going to make a sub at the 70th minute. I don't understand why he's so rigid when it comes to this approach. I mean, we were losing the game, we want to get back in. You know, I'd love to see him make the first change, have the other manager react to you. That's what you need sometimes. The old Mourinho used to be famous for doing things like that, where he'd change the course of the game with one substitution. The manager would have to react to him and we get straight back into the game. Anytime we're playing poorly, I don't see what Conte does sometimes to really help us get back into the game. I know a lot of people are going to try and tell me, oh, you need it's a one-off game, stop being so negative. Please don't say that to me. I'm not going to accept that. We've seen similar types of performances like this so often, where we play very poorly against the big teams. Yeah, we will get results against some of them. Of course we do, but then the performances are very abject and too negative. And I'm thinking, you know, it's got me thinking further on. Imagine we're getting later on into the Champions League in the stages, you know. I can see us adopting the same approach if we're playing someone like, I don't know, you know, like a Real Madrid in a quarterfinal or something like this. And it's not going to help us at all. And it's just going to give more freedom to Real Madrid to do anything, because, you know, we can't create chances when we play this style of football. And it's the same pattern that Conte was doing as well when Juventus were playing against some of the top teams as well. It's just, yeah, he needs to adapt his approach and have more faith in his players and his teams to actually, you know, out football teams. Because like we saw against Atletico Madrid, with the players we have in this team, we can out football teams. I'm sorry. Our players aren't inferior to some of the other big clubs. We've got a lot of world-class, fantastic ball-playing players in this team where we can play the type of football where we can put our game, enforce our game on the opposition and have them react to us. But just before I end this match review, I'm sorry. There were, of course, a few disappointing performances. I really felt yesterday Bakayoko was probably our worst player. I know he got a lot of praise against the game against Atletico Madrid last week. I thought he was pretty poor. He kept giving the ball away unnecessarily. And there's one weakness that I've been saying about Bakayoko, which he will learn, because the guy is only, what, 22 years old. Any danger that comes in from behind, he doesn't read it just yet. He's not able to stop danger before it arrives. And too often he gets played in from behind. I felt he was playing in a very unfamiliar position where he was given more of like a advanced box-to-box role. You know, some of his forward runs lacked a lot of, you know, aggression and, you know, confidence too. And just his overall, you know, ability on the ball yesterday was very abject as well. And it wasn't helping at all, constantly losing it or playing too slowly. I thought Conte as well wasn't his best game, but at the same time, whenever he got the ball, what passing options did he have in front of him? It was the same thing for Fabregas as well. But again, it was disappointing because simple passes, for example, Alonso was making a lot of runs on the left-hand side to stretch the play, and we could never find him with any pass, and that was the most frustrating thing. The amount of times Willian lost the ball unnecessarily, Hazard running off on sides, and I'm thinking, I'm sorry, there should have been a substitution made to help us get it back into the game, to help Hazard get into those dangerous positions, to force Man City back, to help the wing backs get forward, and start putting that pressure on Manchester City. It didn't happen, and we got one of the most disappointing performances us Chelsea fans have seen for a while. Anyway, you guys, want to end the match review here. I know I'm going to get probably like a lot of backlash in this video as well, but you know, I like to give my honest opinions. There's no bias for me or anything like that. I just have to say it how I see it. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching today's video. I expect more uploads happening in the future. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Line TV. Signing out.